What's going on? I'm going to be doing another replay cast, Total War Warhammer 3. This is a one-on-one domination match. Playing as the Ogre Kingdoms, and my opponent is playing as the High Elves. So for this matchup, I'm mainly thinking about how am I going to not get crushed by a bunch of missile fire, and how am I going to deal with the spearmen. And I know that High Elf players oftentimes bring some combination of standard spearmen and of silver and guard, and so I wanted to pay attention to making sure I'm not casting damage spells on silver and guard because they have spell resistance. So I'm going to slow things down here. So to start off, got two squad of Gnoblars in the front, one on the flank. Squads of Gnoblar trappers on both the center and the flank. Crushers with great weapons on the flank. Man-eaters with ogre pistols and lead belchers in the middle, along with my Slaughtermaster with a great maw. And then I've got a Saber-Tusk pack on either flank. Now my opponent, again playing as the High Elves, has got five squads of spearmen, it looks like. Yep, 5 squads of spearmen. He's got Imrik on a horse. Sometimes this guy will be on a dragon, I believe. He's got a squad of Eagle Claw bolt throwers. 5 squads of Lothern Sea Guard, it looks like. Yep. And then a squad of Silver and Guard in the back. These may have been summoned in at the beginning of the match. So I'll put things on normal speed and we'll get into this. So again, usually when I play this map, what I'm looking to do is capture the center objective and the one closer to my spawn. So I'm going for sectors 1 and 2. Kind of divvied up my forces so that I had a decent amount of various unit types on either side. I was expecting that he was probably going to have some kind of artillery pieces, and that's part of the reason that I put one squad of these Saber-Tusks on either side. Immediately ran them up into the woods and around the sides, and my idea was that if he pushes towards the middle, he pushes onto the points, he might leave the artillery pieces open in the back, and then I can try to go around and catch them off guard. So he sent Imrik up front, so I figured I'd issue an attack order on my man-eaters with ogre pistols to shoot at him, kind of force him back. And I did not want to send up my Slaughtermaster or my lead belchers too far forward because I figured they're going to have a lot of firepower, whether it's with archers, Lothern Sea Guard, something along those lines. For this match, this guy went with a lot of Lothern Sea Guard. So got Gnoblars going forward, slow down their spearmen. Got Gnoblar trappers. With my Gnoblar trappers, I was aiming to make sure that I was targeting units that weren't very high armor or with strong shields. And I believe I was mostly targeting Lothern Sea Guard with them because the spearmen have better shields than the Lothern Sea Guard. In fact, some of the Lothern Sea Guard that he brought didn't have any shields. So you see I've got my Saber-Tusk going around the flanks. This is basically going to be a wash. I'm basically guaranteed to lose this frontline fight because spearmen are always going to win out against Gnoblars, especially when they've got Imrik coming in to get involved. You see he's summoning some Illyrian Reavers with the Archer variant to deal with my Saber-Tusk that I sent around the back. So I figured I'd run one squad on top of the Eagle Claw bolt throwers and another squad at the Reavers. He did a good job of bringing in another squad of Silver and Guard to deal with that, though. So you see I have movement commands for my Slaughtermaster to move back and forth in case they end up targeting him with a bunch of archers. I've got Saber-Tusk coming in from the flank. I figured I can get them on top of a squad of Lothern Sea Guard and tie them up. I probably should have chosen a different squad other than the one that's right next to Imrik because now he can deal with them. But it's gonna take time for me to get used to always recognizing these kind of good plays and what's the optimal move. I did want to make sure I had my ogre pistols shooting at Imrik. Got a little bit too close, so they got caught up by some of these spearmen. I somewhat intercepted them with some Gnoblars here. But you can see they're getting some shots off over towards Imrik. Now they're trying to fight off some of these spearmen, but I want to move them back, which I do here, and just get them out of that exchange. It's not worth losing models or even significant amounts of health on them to some basic spearmen just to get some shots off on Imrik, especially when he's dealing with other units of mine. You know, saving a group of Saber-Tusk packs is not worth that. So I summoned a group of Ogre Bulls and some more Saber-Tusks. I'm running around this right side of the center column, or lane, I guess you could call it. And I've got my Crushers moving around. I should have had these guys doing something earlier on, but I honestly forgot about them. And he's just got a lot of missile fire coming out of the middle. A lot of spears coming down here. He's not doing anything crazy up on this side. Not trying to invest too much resources on either flank. He's mostly focusing on the middle. And because he's not focusing over here and I've got point 1 captured, I figured it's time to start pushing in and not really sit guys over on this point. So I've got, you know, trappers getting their ranged projectiles on the spearmen. Maybe not the best use of them. I probably could have sent them over here, started attacking the Lothern Sea Guard, but pushing downhill, and that's good. And with these Ogre Bulls with the Iron Fists, I brought the Iron Fist variant because I figured they'll be able to block some of the missile fire coming from the High Elf roster, and we'll be able to do decent in melee combat. Unfortunately, they're engaged with some spearmen here, and I was trying to avoid that, but a little bit of miss micro. He's got some kind of spell coming down here. Okay, what is that? Oh, I can't even remember what the spell is. Shem's Burning Gaze, there you go. So it's magic missile type spell. But here I got him tied up with a bunch of Noblars. And honestly, having 2 squads of Noblars on top of him is not so great. But the good thing is I have him tied down and I have my man-eaters with Ogre pistols shooting at him. And he's having trouble getting out of that. And in fact, I don't even know if he's issued an order to get out of there. I landed a Great Maw on the Lothern Sea Guard and just completely crushed them. And now he's got a Frostheart Phoenix in here. So when he brought this guy in, I figured I'd send my Slaughtermaster after Imrik, try to finish him off. I believe I used the, what is this ability called? The Massacre ability on him, causes terror, so that's going to help rout him off. And then I brought in, where are they? I'm going to bring in another squad of the, what are they called? Powder Guts? I believe I bring in the Powder Guts at some point to start getting some shots off on the Frostfire Phoenix. That might be shortly after this. So you can see Imrik's getting chased off. Slaughtermaster is chasing him down. And right now they have a big Lothern Sea Guard blob that I'm collapsing on. And, you know, trying to get some Saber-Tusks on top of them, get some Noblars on top of them. And Slaughtermaster, I really got to turn him back around. He's chasing a little bit too far. Flaming Skull coming from the fire belly. I aimed that so I could get it shot down this squad of Lothern Sea Guard on the top of these guys, and that did a pretty good amount of damage. You can see the HP damage. It probably took a third of their health, and a pretty good amount on one of these squads as well. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I'm pushing them off this objective. Got a lot of guys that are wavering, but I did a lot of damage, and I'm starting to get a little bit more control in the middle. Crushers are pretty beat up. A lot of my Noblars are pretty beat up. My Lead Belchers are beat up, but I do have a squad of Man-Eater Ogre Pistols trying to get out of combat with this Frostfire, or this Frostfire, I think I keep calling it Frostfire Phoenix. Frostheart Phoenix, collapsing on him with the Crushers and the Slaughtermaster. I was making sure I sent my Crushers around this blob so they didn't accidentally run into the Silvering Guard. And there we go. So we got the Powder Guts coming in as well. And they're going to start shooting in on the Frostheart Phoenix. So it looks like he's got him targeting my Lord, but I'm not too worried about that. He's got armor piercing, he's got frostbite, but you know, I've got a lot of guys on top of him, some anti-large dealing with him. And they've got bolt throwers. Looks like they've got some Eagle Claw bolt throwers shooting in. Not sure if they're targeting my Lord. Looks like they're targeting the Crushers with great weapons. So that's a good move on their part. They're taking out the anti-large that I've got attacking the Frostheart Phoenix. Looks like he just threw a Shem's Burning Gaze down on my Slaughtermaster. And he's doing a good job of not sitting his guys on top of each other. You know, sometimes if he were to stack groups of guys, I might get off a Maw or a Burning Skull or something like that ends up chewing up a bunch of different troops. And sometimes it can be, for the sake of limiting actions per minute, it can be enticing to just grab a big squad of guys and give them all the same order. But if that's for a unit that's not quite in range or is close to the maximum range, you'll oftentimes get a bunch of units that all stack on top of each other or maybe in like a big arc, and are susceptible to AoE spells. So Noblar Trapper is losing to some Silver and Guard. So one thing I'll be working on is paying attention to when I'm fighting Silver and Guard and when I'm fighting Spearmen, because you know, in hindsight, when I have a matchup like this, I'm big on focusing on value trading. When there's a matchup like this, I probably wouldn't have sent the Trappers to run in and attack a Silver and Guard squad. I probably won't be sending Saber Tusk packs in to fight a Silver and Guard squad, and you know, probably having them pick on Spearmen or support another group of, say, Noblars to deal with Spearmen. Got Saber Tusk over here chasing down some Illyrian Reavers. He had them up here getting some shots down, so I wanted to push them away. Having those range units, those missile units, artillery units up on these ledges and in vantage points like that can be really, really good. And at this point, I'm feeling pretty good. Although he's got the point lead and he's pushing up here, I'm getting some more damage in and getting some more troops towards the middle. But he does have a big missile line, so he's shooting in there, threatening a lot of my troops. And I have not been able to push on this victory point yet. So he's still got the point lead by a pretty good margin. And that's what I got to deal with. So I brought another squad of Lead Belchers. I figure if they're pushing up with Silver and Guard and things like that, more Lead Belchers will help me deal with that. I do have a decent squad of ranged units. I'm running a little bit low on Noblars and Frontliners, but I did really want to focus on dealing with these Silver and Guard. And watching replays and seeing myself play and what the opponent is doing, for me has been pretty good, giving me an idea of what kind of units I should be bringing in at certain points in the match, and seeing how other players are thinking, or at least inferring what they're thinking based on the units that they're pulling in. So you know, he's got a lot of really beat up Lothern Sea Guard units. He's got some Eagle Claw bolt throwers in the back, and so he's just bringing in more Spearmen, more Silver and Guard, things like that, units to help him keep holding points, pushing on points, and to screen my guys away from his Lothern Sea Guard. This group of Saber Tusk pack I lost track of. I shouldn't have had them keep chasing that Illyrian Reaver with archers, because now they're getting mobbed by some Spearmen, and I think I completely forgot about them. But you can see I've got a little bit of an advantage on the gold value. Got a burning skull off there. I was not paying too much attention to see where that was shot. Got a fire breath down the side of the Silver and Guard. Although these Silver and Guard do have decent spell resistance. Let's see what they have. 30% spell resistance. That is significant. So luckily I've got Lead Belcher shooting at them too. And again, this is one of those little things, I've probably mentioned this before. Noticing when you have a unit that has high spell resistance versus one that doesn't can really help you make good decisions, value influence decisions when you're choosing where to cast your spells, whether it's with a lord, a hero, whatever the case. And here I'm starting to think, man, I'm running out of frontline units. He's getting a lot of points. I gotta get some Noblars forward. I gotta start threatening these victory points. And so he's got a group of Silver and Guard up here. I had Saber Tusk come down and flank, Noblars in the front, hit them. Got my Fire Belly running in here. Probably not the best idea against Spearmen, but at this point I'm thinking, all right, I gotta push in here. I gotta do whatever I can to get some momentum and start grabbing these points, because he's got a triple cap on me, and the only way I'm gonna turn this back around is if I can get some victory points captured. And one of the things that I'm noticing with the Noblar units is they are really necessary for screening, especially against these enemy or these factions that have spear heavy rosters, affordable foot troops with anti-large. Getting Noblars to tie up those guys and to hold them back is really important. They are expendable though, so you have to be careful with how much you're relying on them to get forward and capture points. So over here, for example, I sent Saber Tusk pack, and I figured I'd capture this point with them. See if I can send some more guys. I sent some Noblar Trappers up this way because my Saber Tusks got chased off by these Silver and Guard. These guys are really good holding troops. 75 armor, silver shields, 43 melee defense right now because they're being buffed. But really good at holding points, and so when the High Elves have captured victory points like this, and they've got Spearmen, Silver and Guard, Lothern Sea Guard, bolt throwers, things like that behind them, they can do a really good job of holding their ground. And so you really got to find a way to disrupt that. So we lost on victory points. Well played to my opponent. And one of the things that I'm looking at there, and I'll get probably a better look at this as I'm looking at the unit values, is how do I deal with those spearmen better? You know, do I bring more Noblars in the beginning? Do I bring more lead belchers or something like that? Even if I do, how do I keep them not so vulnerable to the Northern Sea Guard? You know, maybe I bring, say, a unit of either a Slaughtermaster or a Butcher that has the, what is it called, the Lore of Beasts, and summon a, oh boy, I'm losing the name of the, I think it's called a Manticore. Summon a Manticore and get him in on the back lines, or is he just going to get shot down? So just a matchup for me to work on figuring out. But anyways, Slaughtermaster didn't do too great. Crushers didn't do great. Man-eaters with Ogre pistols did pretty good. A lot of this value was just from shooting at Imrik. You saw I chased him off early in the beginning when he got tied up between some Noblar packs. A lot of that value from them is from that. Lead Belchers did all right. A lot of shooting on Spearman units. Saber Tusks, you know, pretty good. Noblar Trappers, all right. Normal Noblars, all right. Not so great given that I put some experience on them. I was thinking if I used some of my extra money to put experience on them, I could keep them in the fight and tie up the Spearmen for longer. Not sure if that paid off well. Powder Guts didn't do too great. I didn't get my second squad of Crushers in because he really didn't bring any large units. In fact, I think his only large unit the whole match was the Frostfire Phoenix and the Imrik on the horse, other than those Reavers. But, you know, that's not a unit that you're usually going to be able to catch out with Crushers. Firebelly did pretty good. A lot of times when I bring heroes and you know, I guess casters and the hunters are both considered heroes. A lot of times I cut down a lot of their spells and abilities and whatnot to make them more affordable. I have more of a focused mindset with how I'm using them. So this guy, I believe he only had Fire Breath, Kindle Flame, which is a passive that increases his fire damage, and I believe I also had Burning Skull. In fact, I know I had Burning Skull. These Lead Belchers did good. Ogre Bulls with Iron Fist did not do well. A lot of that was my miss micro with them. Their Saber Tusks did alright. Between the two of them, they basically came out even. Other Noblar Trappers did alright. That's a bad omen there. But those guys got a lot of value. These guys did alright. So, let's see. Imrik did alright. This group, the Silvern Guard, didn't do great. Bolt Thrower was putting in work. This Bolt Thrower was putting in work. You see the Northern Sea Guard got pretty good value. Spearmen did decent. A lot of variability with the gold value on these guys. His Bolt Thrower, it seems his Bolt Throwers and his Northern Sea Guard were kind of his MVPs. So again, good game to my opponent. It was a fairly even match. I probably could have done better at holding the victory points, but value trading was mostly even. And again, that seems to be a theme for me, is that I got to focus more on capturing victory points and not focusing only on the value trade. But anyways, I'll see you on the next replay.